So being aggressive with your forward movement is really important to breaking serve more often. It doesn't matter if it's singles or doubles. So let's look at this player here returning serve. First, let's just notice where he's starting. So he's starting quite far behind the baseline. But then look where he is when he returns serve. Like, look where he's standing is right on the baseline. So his forward movement is quite a lot. Like, he's really going forward into this return. So the first idea I want you to know is if you plan on returning serve around the baseline, and that's going to be determined based on the speed of the serve and your reaction time and just how well you can return. If this is where you want to stand to return serve, then you should start back here. That way you can have forward movement and kind of fight fire with fire, if you know what I mean. So that when the ball's coming in, you've got forward movement going and you're leaning in and you're being aggressive. So then the question is, how do you go forward? Well, I'm a fan of a step and then a split step. And this is exactly what this player does. Watch, he takes a step. He steps with his left foot. The returner steps forward with his left foot. And by the way, it doesn't matter which foot you step with because it all squares up by the time you split step anyway. But he takes a step forward and then he split steps. And then when he split steps, he can be explosive with his movement. This is actually what Andy Murray does with the step and then the split. It's actually the technique I use as well. So then the next question is, when do you do this? So here's a really easy way to know when to start your pre-movement forward and be aggressive into the return. Well, it's all really based on the server. When the server, and watch the server's tossing arm, when you are returning serve and you see the tosser or the server toss the ball, that's when you can begin your step. So he's rocking back and forth, and then he steps based on the toss. And this is not true for every single player you play against because some players have very high tosses and some players have lower tosses. But on average, you'll take this step forward when you see the server toss. And then from there, the timing just takes care of itself. Once you begin the movement, you can just split step and you'll most likely be timing it correctly. Now, let's talk about the actual split step timing. The returner is making a split step right there. It's where you land on the front half of your feet. You can see that his knees are bent. And when your knees are bent, you're loaded up with energy and you can explode in any direction. Now, when should you be landing? Just kind of answer this question for me right now. When should you land your split step? And this is whether you're at the net, rallying, return to serve, it doesn't matter. When should you land your split step based on the shot from your opponent, just relative to your opponent's shot? And the answer is you should land after they hit the ball. And you can see this perfectly. Watch how the ball is being contacted right now. So there's the contact right there. There's contact. Notice the returner is in the air and that he's landing right there as the ball is nearly crossing crossing the net. So you want to be in the air as your opponent hits the ball. And the reason is because there is a delay in our reaction time. And it's usually around 0.25 for visual, right, stimuli. So when we see something, it basically takes us 0.25 seconds to kind of process what we're seeing. So what we actually want to do is land after the ball is actually hit so that we synchronize our reaction time with when our feet hit the ground. That actually makes us faster when we land because then when we land, we actually know where to go rather than landing as the opponent hits and then we still have to process where to go and we actually become stationary and we don't move as explosively. So the timing is actually to take that step forward when we see the toss go up. Then we actually want to be in the air as the opponent hits. A nice little fun way to think of it is as your opponent hits the ball, whether it's a forehand, whatever it is, right? It's not just on a return to serve, no matter what it is. When your opponent hits the ball, imagine that like an electric shock zaps the court, like bzzz, for those like 3-4 milliseconds, right? And you want to be off the ground so you don't get electrocuted, right? So that's kind of the idea. Be off the ground when your opponent hits the ball. That way you don't get zapped. And then when you land, now you're ready to explode. Now, this is where we talk about split, turn, hit, step. Split, turn, hit, step. So he's already split step. So that move right there is the split. So split, turn, hit, step is the order in which you do things on a return of serve. So he just split step. So the next thing is what? turn. So now we see him turn. So you can see him make a little bit of an adjustment. And you can see both feet make a little adjustment to try to move him over to the ball. The reason is this is actually quite a short serve. And so he's actually trying to get himself up. And I shouldn't say quite a short serve, but that ball is landing probably 6 feet inside the service line. So he actually, this is a second serve return, by the way. He's actually trying to get up to that ball a little bit without committing to any steps. Remember, because the last thing you do is the step. So he split steps, he turns, and this little adjustment with both feet is optional. It's all based on if you have to make a minor adjustment to get to the ball. Then he's going to hit the ball, and then his right foot steps. So watch this again. Split, turn, hit, step. And then he sidesteps into position for the next shot. So understanding what you should do, standing farther back, making sure that you're going to take a step forward as your opponent tosses, then be in the air as they hit. And when you land, that's your split step, your turn, your hit, and your step. Gives you the timing and the rhythm and the cadence of what should actually be happening when you're returning serve. Now, if you're looking for new people in your local area to compete against, practice with, or even find a coach who's close to you to help you work on your return of serve, then use my link in the description, playyourcourt.com/2minute tennis, and get 50% off when you join. When you improve your return to serve, there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.